Hello, my name is Sarita Brown, and I am president of Excelencia in Education. On behalf of everyone who has worked to make this program possible, we welcome you. We realize that there are some among you who have not heard about Excelencia in Education. So let me formally introduce us. We are a Washington-based nonprofit organization with a mission of accelerating Latino student success in higher education. We have done this work since 2004, and our focus has remained the same. It is built on the belief that the growth of the Latino community is an asset for this country. A country's most precious resource is education. And that is what we are going to spend the next hour looking at a very rare moment in all of our lives, because this year has been like none other that any of us has experienced. As we come to this discussion, we gather for only the second time that we've ever looked at the Seal of Excelencia. What is that? That is a framework that began 2 years ago. And today it is the backbone of a conversation, a method, a process, ultimately a certification for colleges and universities that have chosen, even in this moment of great challenge, when so much is uncertain, to continue to push forward and hold themselves accountable for serving Latino students while serving all. You're going to hear a lot more about it in the next few minutes. And the first person that you're going to hear it from is Peter Taylor. He is president of the ECMC Foundation, and he is one of 12 professionals from across the country that serve on the Seal of Excelencia Advisory Council. Peter, please speak to us.
Before Excelencia makes the big reveal of those institutions receiving the Seal of Excellency this year, I wanted to share a few words about why this certification is so important, especially now in 2020. This year has brought crisis after crisis to our homes, to our college campuses, frankly, altering the every fabric of our day-to-day lives. As I reflect on everything that we have faced as individuals, as a collective, and consider the many unanswered questions in front of us, I'm reminded that creating a shared intention of how we collaborate, learn together, and hold each other accountable will help guide our way forward through numerous changes that lie ahead. 2 years ago, when the seal was first revealed, I instantly loved the concept. I loved its thoughtful series of activities and the multi-track approach to help institutions address inequities in educational attainment, particularly for Latinx students. Looking back, it's clear to me that the seal has really become something much more than we could have envisioned. The seal has become the gold standard for demonstrating to Hispanic-serving institutions, and frankly, all institutions, what it truly means to serve Latino students. It has brought in a certain clarity to academic leaders on how to be responsive to the new realities and expectations of higher education. And it has left an indelible impact on the schools that have reimagined how they support Latinx students, and of course, the students who attend these schools. Now, let's be clear, this is really, really hard work. The seal requires college leaders to commit to transforming campus cultures through an era of personal and social turmoil, where all of the ripple effects of the efforts really have a way of working out many years into the future. And in higher education, if there's any truism, we know that change is really hard and rarely happens quickly. But for the past few months since the beginning of lockdown have taught us anything, it's only possible to take the long view if you can look beyond the obstacle that's right in front of us and see the broader landscape in a new light. That's especially true today in this period of fundamental instability within higher education. I've been thinking about promises and commitments these days, especially as we continue to address the long legacy of systemic racism in the United States in general and in higher education specifically. In my role as president of the ECMC Foundation and as a trustee of the California State University system, I've been wondering what commitments we are making to truly improve the lives of learners today, as well as prepare higher education to be more student-centric and focused on equity in the post-COVID, post-recession environment. Thankfully, there are institutions that are rising to this moment and making real commitments that will not just affect students now, but the students' bodies of the future. And speaking of rising up, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out and warm welcome and appreciation to the new Chancellor of the Cal State system, Joe Castro, whose career is an example of what striving for excellence means in practice. Now, all of the prior recipients of the Seal and the ones that will be announced today are continuously teaching us we must learn, how we must grow, how we must take this opportunity together to address the structural inequities in higher education. So in closing, I'd like to share a wonderful quote I've just recently heard. Pathmaker, there is no path, you make the path by walking. And think about that for a second. Pathmaker, there is no path, you make the path by walking. In this era of COVID, lockdown, recession, social unrest, distance learning, there is no well-trodden path. The institution we recognize today and our recipients from last year provide examples of leadership that isn't waiting for somebody else to create the playbook. They are leading the way. To Excelencia, to all our Seal recipients from last year, today, and in the future, we appreciate that you are paving the way forward for Latinx student success so that the rest of us may follow the path you create. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter, for your remarks and for your ongoing commitment to higher education and its capacity to create true equity of opportunity and achievement in this country. Excelencia in Education is so proud for this moment. Deborah Santiago, who I will call on to speak with you as we move forward, and I launched this organization because we believe in all of our capacity to make change happen. We have done this work over the years, focused on data, evidence-based practices, and building a network of common cause. With that strength, which emanates from the strength of mi colega, co-founder, and CEO, Deborah Santiago, and I, we move to the formal presentation of the Seal of Excelencia for 2020. Deborah, please speak with us.
Thank you, Sarita. And thank all of you and to all of our staff that were part of making this possible, especially Ira Perez and Noé Ortiz, who are part of our Seal team. The Seal of Excelencia was created after more than 20 years of listening, working with, and learning from institutional faculty, staff, students, and administrators about the challenges and the opportunities for intentionally serving Latino and other post-traditional students. After more than 25 years of research on HSI, Hispanic serving institutions, Latino student success, and analysis of federal and institutional policy, and with the belief that we can have a higher standard of expectation from institutions who are committed to being organizations where Latino and other students can thrive. We know serving Latino students requires more than just enrolling them. That's a necessary but not sufficient component of serving. We know some institutions have met the enrollment threshold to be identified as an HSI because of demography and geography and not intentionality and impact. And we know that there are leaders at institutions around the country committed to the social contract we implicitly sign with students who enroll. The mutual responsibility to help students meet their educational goals and foster an environment where they can thrive and be part of a community of leadership and making a difference in their communities day in and day out and to their families. The Seal is an institutional assessment tool with a straightforward framework. To intentionally serve Latino students, an institution needs to know who they serve, be able to describe how they serve them, monitor the students' progress while being served, and show some evidence of effectiveness. Data, practice, and leadership, as Sarita shared. Here's the kind of basic questions we get to when it comes to the Seal certification. Is an institution enrolling, retaining, transferring, supporting financially, modeling with faculty, staff, and administration, and graduating Latino students? Are their data, practice, and leadership strategies aligned and explicitly inclusive of Latino students? And again, that's not to the exclusion of other students, but making sure we're paying attention to Latino students explicitly. Are they transforming and able to articulate their strategies to ensure their students, including Latino students, thrive? As institutions continue to confront, acknowledge, and transform to address the structural inequities from which all colleges were created and that have constrained the success of too many students of color and those historically underrepresented, the Seal offers one framework to recognize intentionality. For institutions committed to transforming into environments where Latinos thrive, the Seal process began with a 20-page institutional assessment tool, not for the faint of heart. The institutions provided 4 to 5 years of data on enrollment, retention, transfer, financial aid, faculty, staff, and administrative representation, and degree completion that show momentum and progress in Latino student success. Institutions also provided strategies and at least 3 evidence-based practices in each category that, while not exclusively or solely serving Latino students, showed that Latinos were participating and were doing as well or better than others. Third, institutions shared their leadership strategies in their strategic plan, in HR, in communications, in their campus culture, and workforce linkages with a Latino lens. Finally, each of these certified institutions had a team led by their president chancellor that participated in an interview with us at Excelencia to share more about their commitment to intentionally serving Latino students so that we could understand not just what was on paper in a 2-dimensional view, but a 3-dimensional view with the people who are involved, because ultimately this is a people enterprise and the will and commitment stems from the people who are involved. The Seal is a certification, not an award, and it's valid for 3 years. We had an inaugural cohort of 9 institutions that earned the Seal of Excelencia in 2019. Those institutions included Arizona State University, California State University, Channel Islands, University of Texas, El Paso, Austin Community College, Grand Valley State University, El Paso Community College, Florida International University, South Texas College, and the University of Arizona. These institutions continue to transform their practices, their leadership, and their strategies to better serve their students. And we continue to listen and learn from them in a public space where there is no rule book. They are setting the standard for others committed to Latino student success to follow. Having said that, with a little bit of background, I want to get started in announcing the 5 institutions that have been certified with the Seal of Excelencia in 2020. The first institution certified with the Seal of Excelencia for 2020 is Long Beach City College. On behalf of the many at Long Beach City College, we invite President Bynum to accept the institution's Seal of Excelencia certification. President Bynum.
Thank you very much, Deborah. On behalf of Long Beach City College, thank you for this very special honor to receive the Seal of Excelencia. LBCC's Latinx students comprise the largest population on our campus at 58%, and we're very proud to be a Hispanic serving institution. But even before this designation, our college had a growing awareness that has evolved into an intentional institutional effort to provide better services for our Latinx students. As an institution, we align data and practice to provide an environment in which Latinx students can truly thrive. From student affairs to human resources, LBCC continues to be, I hope, a trailblazing example of a Hispanic serving institution. We approach supporting student success through engagement with partners and fostering collaboration within the college, as well as within the broader community that we serve. A major result of this effort was the creation of the Long Beach College Promise partnership amongst LBCC, our K-12 school district, and local California State University. Developed in 2008, the promise formalized the guarantee of access to higher education for every student in Long Beach, and promotes greater educational attainment in the community. The Promise Partners work as one system to help students transition between institutions through support, including free tuition at Long Beach City College. The college also partners with community organizations serving the Latinx community. These partnerships encompass advocacy in addition to educational work. We've held events where we supported our student dreamers. We also celebrated as a campus community this past June when the Supreme Court rejected the Trump administration's plan to repeal DACA. Just last year, LBCC received a $3 million Title V grant called the Destino program. This program aims to improve student success and equitable student outcomes for Latinx and low-income students in science, technology, engineering, and math. We're striving to be more race conscious rather than colorblind. We are intentional from the redesign of our matriculation process to our case management approach for our Latinx students. We are creating meaningful cultural activities to celebrate our Latinx campus community, like Latinx Heritage Month and Dia de los Muertos. We have shifted our thinking in how we serve our Latinx students. This also includes who serves our students, with an increase in hiring Latinx faculty and staff. And we've seen demonstrative gains and impacts of our work. Take, for example, our gains in the Associate Degree for Transfer Numbers, or ADT for short. The ADT degrees guarantee transfer from California community colleges to California state universities. In the last 4 years, we've seen an increase of 14% in general of transfers from 8 Long Beach City College to 4-year institutions. But I'm really proud to say that we've seen the Latinx transfers increasing double that at 28% over the same time. There's momentum that we have behind us. While equity, access, and opportunity have long been our goal for students at Long Beach City College, we find ourselves at a very important time in history. Like the rest of the country, the demonstrations and calls for racial equity have made us re-examine with a different lens our completion rates for our students of color. We know that our Latinx and Black student success rates are behind when compared to their white classmates. But we can't continue to do the same thing and expect different results. We must transform how and where we meet students in their educational pathways. It's our responsibility, not the students, to reduce racial equity gaps. More than a decade ago, our faculty and staff had the courage to try something different with our Long Beach College Promise. And now I'm seeing the same courage and determination today on behalf of our students as we begin to dig deeper to address racial inequities in our education. These past 6 months have been challenging, but that only makes this Seal of Excelencia all the more meaningful to our Viking family. We are very proud that LBCC is the only community college to join the other prestigious universities that received the seal this year. I want to recognize my executive team, especially Dr. Kathy Scott in Academic Affairs and Dr. Mike Munoz in Student Services. I also want to recognize our fabulous Office of Institutional Effectiveness led by Dr. Heather Van Volkenberg, who gathered the data in the seal application process. Long Beach City College will maintain its commitment to the success of our Latinx students. And thank you, Excelencia in Education, for this recognition.
Thank you, President Bynum. That's a wonderful way to begin this parade of institutions. The next that we would like to announce, earning the Seal of Excelencia for 2020, is the University of Illinois at Chicago. We turn things over to Chancellor Emeritus.
Thank you, President Brown. UAC is very proud to be recognized today among our sister institutions in this year's cohort receiving the Seal of Excelencia. And on behalf of our students, on behalf of our faculty and our staff members who have worked very hard over the last decades to advance Latinx education, not only in Chicago and in Illinois, but across the nation, on behalf of all of them who have done the hard work, I want to thank you for recognizing their efforts. Latino and Latina students make approximately 1/3 of the total undergraduate population at UAC, and we are recognized, of course, by the federal government as a Hispanic serving institution, although we would prefer LSI rather than HSI. We are a university with no single majority, and this honor we're receiving today further solidifies our commitment to access, inclusion, and opportunity for all. Of course, student success is an integral part of what we do, whether in relation to students' learning, student retention, graduation, and fulfilling their career aspirations. And as a Research One institution, this same commitment to students and their success continues to the graduate and the professional levels and includes bridging programs from undergraduate education to advanced degrees. Just to give you an example, for the last 30 years, our medical school has consistently graduated more Latinx physicians than any other medical school in the continental United States. We take great pride in our university-wide efforts, which are guided by data, and this is what we love Excelencia for, the data approach. And our efforts also involve all the colleges in the university and a number of offices and programs. And of course, the faculty and staff who do all the work in support of our Latinx students are the ones who are using the data and guide their efforts. Our programs provide multidimensional support, which has resulted in significant increases in student success metrics, not only for Latinx students, but also for all students at UAC. Our efforts have been informed by decades of engagement with the Latinx students, with the faculty and staff, and also including unique Latinx serving units and programs. We also have a very strong engagement with a very large Latino community in Chicago. And with your permission, I would like to give you some characteristic examples of what I'm talking about. Our flagship program is the Latin American Recruitment and Education Services Program, LARES, as we call it, and I have to warn you, we love acronyms here at UAC. LARES assists in the recruitment of Latinx students and also continues the engagement with them, providing academic support to increase retention and graduation rates. LARES was established almost 50 years ago. And since then, the program has grown from approximately 100 students at the beginning to currently serving more than 3,300 students at the university. LARES has been ahead of us in recognition and was recognized as a baccalaureate level example of Excelencia 6 years ago in 2014. The Las Ganas program is more recent. It's focusing on increasing enrollment and improving academic outcomes specific for Latinx and low-income students in the STEM fields, and is funded currently by a grant, a 5-year grant from the US Department of Education. We're also working individually with students. We're providing transition courses to address both academic and non-academic needs of incoming first-year students, and we have also established a collection of tuition-free transition programs over an umbrella of summer college. The coaches work with community partners in several Chicago area high schools, beginning in the student senior year of high school, and the transition programs include academic workshops and readiness and success programs that they are offered either in 3 or 6 week sessions during the summer before the students come to us for the first time that following fall semester. Finally, I would like to point out that we also announced last month that we have convened a new national consortium of all 16 Research One HSI institutions. One of our sister institutions is here, is recognized also, the University of Texas at San Antonio. These institutions in the country that are planning to increase together the number of Latinx doctoral graduates in the social sciences and the humanities, and to create pathways for them to the professorate. This consortium will also support Latin American and Latino studies programs. I know that I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues at UAC by saying that we are very honored by the Seal of Excelencia's recognition of our efforts. And as we receive it today, we also recognize and we accept the responsibility that comes with awards. And the responsibility that comes with this specific recognition and award is a pledge to keep our momentum strong, especially during these difficult times for all, and to strive for even greater future success. On behalf of UAC, I want to thank you for your recognition today.
Thank you, Chancellor Emeritus. Thank you and your team for your leadership and institutional commitment to continue accelerating Latino student success. The third institution certified with the Seal of Excelencia for 2020 is University of Texas at Austin. On behalf of the many at the University of Texas at Austin, we invite President Hartzell to accept the institution's Seal of Excelencia certification. President Hartzell.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Excellencia in Education, for this incredible honor. I also want to say congratulations to my fellow university leaders who are joining us today. We know we're in good company, and it's our pleasure to be part of that group. I should say a special shout out to my colleague, Taylor Ramey, who's coming from the University of Texas at San Antonio. We're proud that the University of Texas system is well represented here today. I would also be remiss if I didn't say that we're very proud that both President Sarita Brown and the speaker to come, President Belle Whelan, are both graduates of UTAustin. We are very proud to have our graduates changing the world of higher education. UT is a global university with a mission to truly change the world. But when you compare us to other top universities, we have a unique charge to serve the state of Texas. Over 90% of our undergraduates are from in-state. That means that our future and our success and impact are inextricably linked to the great people of our great state. And in Texas, with a steadily growing and deeply influential Latino population that will soon become a majority, we will only achieve our dreams and goals by serving our Latino students at the highest level. Our university understands this, and we are rising to the challenge. The Seal of Excelencia reflects the hard work of so many members of the Longhorn family who have made incredible progress on our campus in recent years, from faculty to administrators to staff, who implemented and followed through on our student success efforts, and to the students who worked so hard every day on the 40 acres. These efforts have been both broad and deep, and I wanted to take just a moment to highlight a few of the signs of our progress. One of our key initiatives has been a keen focus on graduation rates. We continue to improve and are seeing success. We just recently announced that we surpassed our 70% four-year graduation rate goal, with notable and important gains for Latino, first generation, and Pell Grant eligible students. I also want to emphasize the importance we have of two new programs, the Texas Advanced Commitment and Dell Scholars UT for Me program. These two programs provide considerable financial support, enabling students with the greatest financial need to know that they are wanted on our campus, they can afford a UTAustin education, they can succeed here, and that they'll be able to graduate without the huge financial debt burden that so many college students today face. I know that enrollment is only the beginning of how we serve our students, but I am very proud to say that this year, UTAustin reached 26.1% undergraduate Hispanic enrollment, an all-time high, passing the 25% enrollment threshold that qualifies the university for consideration as a Hispanic serving institution. I'm so proud to accept this honor today on behalf of all members of Longhorn Nation. They're the ones who got us here and have put in all the incredible work to earn this prestigious distinction. Our work is far from over. We have so much more to accomplish and so many more ways we can make progress to support and empower our Latino students. But it is wonderful to be recognized at this level. We know that the partnership with Excellencia in Education, with that partnership, we can look forward to even greater progress and gains for the benefits of our Latino students and all of our students in all of our community. Thank you all again so much.
Thank you, President Hartzell, and we really are clear that it is about continuity of purpose. It is about connection. Congratulations to the Longhorn Nation. Indulge an X to say that, and know that it is about how together we make things happen and we keep things moving towards the future that we want. The next institution that Excellencia in Education announces as having earned the Seal of Excelencia is California State University, Sacramento, better known to most as Sac State, and the person that we call on to speak and bring the vision and words is their president, Robert Nelson.
Thank you, Sarita. I don't have adequate words to describe the significance of this honor. Sacramento State is proud to accept the Seal of Excelencia in recognition of our work and commitment to Latino excellence in higher education. I want to first and foremost thank Excelencia in Education and Dr. Sarita Brown and Dr. Deborah Santiago for selecting us for this great honor and recognition. None of this would have been possible without the outstanding faculty, staff, and students, in particular, Dr. Viridiana Diaz, who headed up this effort. I spent 34 years in Texas. Who would have ever thought I'd end up in California? We formed a new university. I was the president of UT Pan American in the Rio Grande Valley, and it was time to look for someplace new, someplace where I could continue the work that I had been doing in the Valley. I looked around and I found this university, Sacramento State. At that point, it was ranked number 7 in diversity west of the Mississippi. Last week, US News ranked us as number 2 in diversity west of the Mississippi. Sacramento State had the second oldest college assistance migrant program in the United States. It had been serving for years people who had been working in the fields. We're a young university, only formed in 1947. And we were the fields. In fact, we were hops fields. And it's so perfect that we are now serving the Latino population. We became an HSI in 2015. That's 25%. We're now at 34% Latino. We are at 56% students of color. We are a minority majority university, and we are proud of it. Today, Sac State ranks in the top 10% for value amongst colleges, in the top 50% for best public universities, and number 9 for the most transformative college. Our graduation rates for our Latino students have improved in the last 4 years, 154%. And the same, even higher, for our Black students. We are finally closing what I used to think of as the achievement gap. But what Ibram Kendi has taught us is an opportunity gap. And we are within just fractions of a percent of our Latino students graduating at the same rate as our Anglo students. That has come about because of a desire for our faculty to serve our Hispanic and Latino students and to be there for them. Every year, we have over 8,000 parents and children who come to Sac State for La Feria de Educación to learn about what is possible, to redefine the possible, and to come here and be part of Sac State. We continue to be dedicated for those students and their parents. We work with PK, we work with the HEP program. Every year, we completely fill our ballrooms with our Latino graduation ceremony. And it is amazing to see everyone come and to celebrate what is happening. Earning the Seal of Excelencia means a lot to Sac State, but it's about moving forward and continuing to serve. It's about caring. I was taught something by a student. I was bragging about being the 4th most diverse university at that point. And she said, that's nice, but we ought to be the most caring university. And that's what we should take pride in. And that is exactly what we're working to become. In these times, more than ever, we need to serve and we need to transform. So, on behalf of Sacramento State, we are honored to accept this award, and we promise that we will live up to what it means. And for those who speak Spanish, aguijones para arriba. For those who don't, stingers up.
Thank you, President Nelson, for your leadership and your team's leadership and institutional commitment to continue accelerating Latino student success. The 5th institution certified with the Seal of Excelencia for 2020 is the University of Texas, San Antonio. On behalf of the many at the University of Texas at San Antonio, we invite President Amy to accept the institution's Seal of Excelencia certification. President Amy.
Deborah, thank you. I just want to take a moment and share our certificate with everybody. It arrived today. Well, actually, it arrived about a week ago, and we've got it here in my hands. And it's such an important thing for us and our institution. And I'm just really happy that we have it, as I'll explain. Before starting, I want to extend a big congratulations to the other 4 institutions. We are in wonderful company, and we are so honored to join you as a cohort in our partnership with Excelencia in Education. I want to give a big shout out to President Hartzell up the road at UTAustin. It's a pleasure to learn that there's another UT systems school in this cohort, and it joins our colleagues out in El Paso at UTEP who were in the original cohort. But it's a pleasure to be in such wonderful company today. Our efforts to apply for this certification were monumental, and it really reflects the work of our students, our staff, our faculty, and our administrators. I really want to give a shout out to Provost Espy and to Senior Vice Provost Shipley and the team of folks that worked so hard to get this submittal into Excelencia. I also want to give a big shout out to our colleagues in La Raza Faculty and Administrators Association. There were wonderful colleagues with us during this process. I also, it's fun to share this little anecdote. I want to thank my colleagues at FIU and UTEP because our teams visited with the teams at those 2 institutions who were in the original cohort to learn about best practices. And we had some wonderful conversations with both institutions about things related to SEAL applications, about best practices around student success. And it was a wonderful dialogue. So I tip my hat to those 2 institutions. Many of you may know this, but UTSA is only 51 years old. We were founded to serve the Mexican Americans in South Texas. There was an incredible inequity in our system here in Texas back then. I don't know if you know this, but at that time, San Antonio was one of the largest cities in Texas, and it had no 4-year public institution. We were created to help around this whole issue of educational inequity in South Texas. We were created to address that. And it gives me such pleasure to think about the fact that today the SEAL designation is just another step in this process of our institution serving our community. In some ways, San Antonio represents the demographic future of our country, and therefore we are the university of the future. And I know my fellow presidents on this call would say the same thing about their institutions. I've always said this as president here at UTSA, we're all born with the same potential, but not given the same opportunity. And education is one of the great difference makers to address that inequity. We have a responsibility to be a force for racial and economic equity, and education is foundational to that. In some ways, we have been honored to be a Hispanic serving institution, but we want to go way beyond that and become an exemplar for Hispanic thriving. And this partnership that we will have with Excelencia in Education going forward is foundational to where we are going as a university. We really, really want to be a national model and exemplar for the future of higher education here in America, where students from all backgrounds thrive. We have more work to do. This is not something that we're going to rest on our laurels about at all. It's something that we need to do going forward and take collective ownership as an institution and a community about where we're going and what we are going to be doing to provide equity for our community around education. This is an exciting milestone for us and a celebratory waypoint in our journey. And I just want to say thank you so much to Excelencia in Education for this opportunity to serve. We are humbled by this. On behalf of our entire institution, we say thank you. We look forward to this journey and going forward with you. And we look forward to collaborating with our cohort and those that were designated in the last round. Our friends down the road at Alamo Colleges is a wonderful partner for us. So we look forward to all of this going forward. It's now so important to ensure that our community has the educational opportunities that it needs and the successes in the classroom that are required to advance and have our young people go out and change the world. This is now more important, more than ever. And this is so foundational to where we're going. We look forward to this and we say, thank you, Excelencia in Education. Birds up.
Thank you so much, President Amy. And there was much about your choice to invoke this community now, because we have the 5 of you, and then we have the 9 institutions that were announced last year. You raised that in a very powerful way, both in terms of your gratitude for how the camaraderie across institutional leaders allows you to reflect on what you've done and what you want to do. And it is in that spirit that I want to take a step towards the inventing on a public stage part of what this is all about. When Deborah and I looked at what Excelencia in Education was able to catalyze and support in the first 10, 12 years of our work, we knew that while we were having an impact, the growth of the Latino student population was so vast, creating what one of you has said about the opportunity gap, President Nelson, the opportunity gap that we would want to fill. And so we, with that, asked ourselves what more we could do. When we do this work, though, we do it fully aware that we do it in cooperation, in collaboration, and we build on what came before us. When we looked at how we could use the principles of data, practice, and leadership, there are models that precede the Seal of Excelencia. Immediately, some invoked accreditation processes, and others where you look systematically at what you do, at what is happening, and then you create transparent ways that not only institutions, teams of professionals can hold themselves accountable and look for what are the measures of success, what do you value, and what do you seek to do going forward. But to do it in a way that overtly is grounded in the traditions of higher education. And many of you have done that, whether it's invoking the name of your institution, what you do at a football game, all of that is part of what this moment is about, in that we as professionals with shared commitment, are seeking to create what Peter Taylor was saying, the pathway. How do we do this work together? How do we raise it up together? How do we come together and continue to do more? All of that, I hope, has been clear as you've listened to the great words that you've heard, that it's been in the spirit for all of you who worked on this process to achieve certification. For us at Excelencia in Education, we also have the capacity of working with people who hold all kinds of positions across the country. The person I want to introduce to you is better known to those of you, particularly in the southern region, as the president of SACS COC, Dr. Belle Whelan. Most important to Excelencia in Education, she is our vice chair on the board of directors at Excelencia. And she is someone who has been with us on this journey of taking what we know and the desire to do more and invent on a public stage. So with that in mind, Dr. Whelan, talk to us on this day when we are recognizing 5 institutions with the Seal of Excelencia for 2020.
Thank you, President Brown. And congratulations to all of our winners today. As an accreditor, it's not often that you hear that our process results in a celebration. And all of those of you who know me know that I don't miss a party. So I'm really pleased to be here today on behalf of the Board of Excelencia and in the stead of our chair, William Sarata, who could not be with us today, to offer our congratulations for all of the hard work that each of the staffs of the 5 institutions recognized today have done. I also have an opportunity to work with the other institutional accreditors to know that all of us have requirements for student achievement and that we all have processes in place that can be used to ensure the academic success of all students who enroll. I also am an old lady. I've been in this business 47 years and I've started as a faculty member and worked my way up to the college president. And so I know the struggles that our students face, whether they're first generation students, Pell Grant students, minority students, single parents, you name it, and they are there. But these institutions recognize that the future of our country depends upon all students achieving. They know that they get it. They understand that the time and the effort and the energy that our students put into achieving has to be matched by the institutions. And as Deborah mentioned earlier, that not just enrolling those students, but ensuring their successful retention and completion of their academic endeavors is most important to our students. They know that families impact the success of students, and you can't ignore the childcare needs or the fact that these are first generation students in many cases, and they don't have families at home who know how to support their endeavors as a student. They know that there are mental health issues and food issues, food insecurities that impact students, and have to address those in order for students to be successful. They know that tutoring services and just having somebody in many instances who look like them, in whom they feel they can have confidence, is important to have. We know as educators that all of these things contribute to the success of our students. And so it is with those things in mind that these institutions have put not just their mouth, but their money and their energies into these processes to ensure the student success. As the number of Latino and Latina students increases in our institutions, it is incumbent upon all institutions to ensure that the academic success of their students is met. It's also their responsibility to make sure that they are, because the success of our nation and our position globally is going to be dependent upon all students who come through our institutions. And with the increasing numbers of Latino and Latina students, it is obvious to me that those populations must be addressed. The winners of today's Seal and those who were runners-up know that it is possible for an institution, once it puts its mind to it, to concentrate its efforts on the success of students. But they will tell you that it was not necessarily easy. changing the culture of an institution to looking at all students to focusing on a particular group has ramifications and has some pushback. But these leaders have shown with the data that they have that these are the students they serve. And so it's imperative that they address those students' needs. I hope that those of you out there who have joined us will call upon the presidents of these institutions to find out how they did it. Going back to the winners from last year, as President Amy said, was significant in getting UTSA to move forward in its quest for reaching this level of certification. Everybody needs to know that higher ed is not rocket science unless there's a program in rocket science, and that the collective knowledge that we all have is what we depend upon to move all of us forward. So pick up the phone, send an email, send a tweet. I don't care how you communicate with these 5 leaders and find out what did you do and how easy was it or how difficult was it? What was necessary to move the faculty and the administration forward to focusing on this particular population. I congratulate the winners on behalf of all of our board members. I hope that you will continue to spread the good word about how possible it is to raise student success levels among Latino and Latina students. And I thank you for all you do every day on behalf of all of the students that you serve.
Dr. Whelan, thank you for joining us, for your many years of leadership, and for being a trendsetter yourself in post-secondary education. It is with respect and gratitude for the commitment and work of these 5 institutions that we share the 2nd inaugural cohort of institutions certified with the Seal of Excelencia. Much work has been done and so much more is needed to continue accelerating Latino student success, to close equity gaps in degree attainment, and to reach the full potential we have as a community and as a nation. When we started the Seal, I made a comment publicly that we were jumping off the cliff and taking a chance nationally to create an institutional assessment tool that unapologetically focused on Latino students, and a certification process that measures and recognizes what we value. Yet we know that all students and families are taking a chance in doing the same. And too often, these students and families must be successful and thrive despite the institution and not because of the institution. This is happening on our watch, and we have to bring attention to those taking responsibility for making a difference and creating environments where all students and families can thrive. The work of these institutions to be intentional, to transform, and dismantle the structural inequities of long-standing in our institutions, and their efforts to serve Latino students in order to better serve all of those who are enrolled continues. All of the 2019 Seal certified institutions have continued their work. And at Excelencia, we continue to listen, learn, and share as a community of common cause with them. They are in turn leveraging their trend-setting efforts to accelerate their work and to share with others committed to intentionally serving Latino students. The transformation we need as a nation to once and for all serve our students well is happening on our watch. And as leaders, we're grateful to be part of this community of common cause. Gracias. Thank you for all you do on behalf of so many. Thank you to all 5 institutions and to the presidents who are with us today.